Isa po muna yung pagbati ng maganda at pagpalang araw sa lahat po na taga-subaybay at manonood ng programang ito. Tayo po ay nagpapatuloy sa ating pag-aaral na pinamagatan nating The Returning Soldiers. At sa pagkakataon pong ito, tayo po ay nasa ikatlong bahagi na ng ating pag-aaral at pang-apat na bahagi ang tatalakayin natin ngayon. At ang pangatlo po nating bahagi ay pinamagatan nating The Return. Ano po? Ang pagbabalik. Mga patotoo na kung saan itong Roman soldiers ay they are on their way pabalik, mga minamahal, upang atakihin ang Jerusalem. At nakita natin sa ating previous study ang katotohanan nito, mga minamahal, ang patotoo nito. Ngayon po, titingnan natin kung sa anong kaparaanan, ano ang mga paraan nila, ano ang mga vehicle nila na ginagamit upang patunayan sa atin na sila po ay pabalik na upang gapiin ang Jerusalem o spiritual Jerusalem, mga minamahal. Sa pagkakataon pong ito ay titingnan natin ang mga bagay na iyan. Ang sayo po ng Brussels, Belgium, February 16, 2009, the Secretariat of the Commission of the Bishops' Conference of the European Community has welcomed a proposed EU law that would safeguard a Sunday as a day of rest from work, according to ELO Osservator Romano, mga minamahal. Ito po ay proposal sa EU, ano po? European Union, mga minamahal. Although, sabi ko nga, sa Amerika, pero itong mga bagay na ito ay, sapagkat ang Europe ay isang mabigat na samahan yan, so dito nila tinitingnan ng pauna ito, mga minamahal. Ang sabi po dito, court rules, German shops must close on Sunday, December 23, 2009. Ano po? Ito ay kung papansin niyo, mga minamahal, ang German ay ang capital ng ekonomiya, ano po, sa Europa. Subalit sila ay nag-o-observe na ng Sunday closures sa mga establishmento nila, mga minamahal. Ano po? Mga shops nila on Sunday. Ano po? Ang sabi ng Spiegel Online, 2009, the world from Berlin, even atheists needs to switch off on Sundays. Even atheists, sabi nila. Germany's highest court has ruled that Sunday should be kept as a day of rest and has overturned a Berlin law easing restriction on Sunday shopping. Most German newspapers on Wednesday greet the ruling, some for reasons of religion and tradition, others out of concern for workers' life, right, mga minamahal. So makikita natin po, na talagang from 1888, under the Lord's Day Alliance, itong mga kilusang ito, itong mga grupong ito, ay nagpapatunay na talagang isinusulong nila at nakatarak na itong banner ng Sol Invictus or Sunday God, Sunday Worship, mga minamahal. At pinapasimulan lang nila itong mga minamahal dito sa Sunday Rest, para daw makapagpahinga sa trabaho, para sa pamilya at mga ano-ano pa. Ito ang vehicle nila. But time will come. This will be enforced by law to force all the people, like in the times of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, to worship the image of the beast, mga minamahal. Ang sabi po dyan, the labor union joined the churches in their campaign to ring-fence Sunday as a day of the nation. However, their focus was not on protecting the right to practice religion, but rather on protecting workers on the retail sector from having to work on Sundays, sometimes the only day they might get to spend with other members of their family. The services union were greeted Tuesday, ruling with relief and joy, saying this was a boon to shop workers and their families, mga minamahal. So sabi ko kanina, ginagawa nila ito bilang ginagawang pananggalang itong pamilya, itong mga worker magkaroon ng panahon, mga minamahal, makapagpahinga. Katulad nitong pahayagan ng the Church of England, Protection of the Work-Free Sunday, February 17, 2009, the Church of England, House of Bishop, Europe Panel, the Secretariat of Committee, yan po, and the Protestant Church in Germany have welcomed the initiative of several members of the European Parliament to ask the House to decide on a written declaration on the protection of work-free Sunday, mga minamahal. Ito yung kilusan ng mga simbahan kasama ng bishops association na nag-submit sila ng, ang tawag ba dito, ng papel sa European Parliamentary upang gawing rest day ang Sunday. Subalit sa pagkakataong yun, mga minamahal, ay hindi sila pinayagan. Hindi sila pinayagan. Ano po? Binasura ang kanilang panukala. Ang sabi dito, the declaration submitted by MEPS, Anna Saborska Martin, yan, the European Parliament, having regard to Article 137 of the TEO, having regard to Rule 116 to its rule of procedure, whereas a work-free Sunday is an essential pillar of the European social model and a part of the European cultural heritage. Whereas a Eurofound survey shows that the likelihood of sickness and absenteeism in establishment that work on Saturday and Sunday is 1.3 times greater compared with establishment that do not require staff to work at the weekend. Sabi niya, ito isang sanggalan nila. Sabi niya, magkaroon tayo ng free Sunday. Sapagat ayon sa pag-aaral, yung mga nagatrabaho ng Saturday and Sunday ay 1.3% higher ang risk nila na magkasakit kaysa dun sa mga hindi. Sabi nila, at alam niyo po ba na dun sa mga previous study natin ngayon, mga minamahal, ay nabanggit yan ng ilang pahayagan ngayon na madali daw magkasakit yung mga tao na nagatrabaho ng linggo. Ano po? So ito ang mga dahilan nila. Ano pa ang nakasulat dito? Sabi dito, whereas according to EU law, Sunday is the weekly rest for children and adolescents. Whereas the European institution, bodies, and agencies have not worked on Sunday since their creation and do not intend to do so in the future. Sabi dito, alam niyo po ba sa Europe, mga minamahal, mabuti tayo sa Pilipinas, sapagat ang mga bata ay may pahinga sila ng Sabado at Linggo. Yung mga nag-aaral ay nag-aaral lang ng Monday to Friday. Sa Europe, mga minamahal, ang mga bata ay pumapasok sa eskwela ng Monday to Saturday. At ang sabi nila, Sunday lang ang pahinga ng mga bata. Kung kaya ito ang panahon nila ng leisure nila. Ang sabi nung nag-submit nito, kung hindi nyo, katulad nito, sabi niya, kung yung tatay ay bibigyan mo ng day off ng Miyerkules at yung nanay ay bibigyan mo ng day off ng Biyernes, pag nagtigil sa pagpasok ang mga bata ng Linggo, wala silang kasama at walang gagabay sa kanila. Kaya ang sabi nitong mga nagsumiting ito ng MEPS, kapag hindi nyo pinagbigyan ito, ay parang ninanakaw nyo ang panahon ng mga bata na makasama ang kanilang mga magulang. At pag sila nagliwaliw ng walang gabay ng magulang, ay pwede silang mapahamak. Nakita niyo po, mga minamahal, yung kanilang mga kaisipan, initiative at kanilang mga sanggalang para lamang push nila itong Sunday, anong tawag dito? Sunday observance, ano po? Ngayon, ito po yung mga sumusulong nito sa AO noong 2009. Yan po, makikita nyo. Sabi dyan, why Sunday should be included as a weekly rest day in the revised working time directive. Ano po? So yan, pwede nyo pong anong tawag dyan, i-post itong video at basahin yan. Pero I want to cite some of the reasons. Sabi dyan, una, more than any other day of the week, a free Sunday offers the opportunity to meet one's family. So yan, mga minamahal. So ang free Sunday ay nagbibigay ng oportunidad para magtagpo-tagpo ang pamilya. Sabi dyan, more than any other day of the week, a free Sunday offers the opportunity to meet friends, to establish and maintain social ties. Ito ang panahon para magkita-kita, mga kaibigan. More than any other day of the week, a free Sunday offers workers the opportunity to pursue their spiritual needs. Binanggit ng mga kaibigan yung spiritual needs. Ano po? Sabi dito, makakapagpahinga sila. Sabi dyan, according to the Eurofound survey, the likelihood of sickness and yan, sabi kanina, mga minamahal. Ano po? Yan, kaya hindi lamang yan sa pangalawang pagdalo nila ay hindi na lamang yung MEPS ang kasama nila, kundi marami na silang kasama, mga minamahal. Ano? Marami na silang ginawang sanggalang. Ano po? Pananggalang sa mga anong ito. Isa na dito mga minamahal, itong, sabi ko nga, itong mga bata. Yan. Protection of a work-free Sunday. Yan. Para sa mga bata, sabi nila. Bigyan natin ng work-free Sunday para yung mga bata ay makasama ang kanilang mga magulang. Subalit, sabi nung EU Parliament, yung request nyo ay papaboran lang namin kung, sabi nila, 1 million citizen needed to request day for children. Kung mapapipirmahan mo niyan sa 1 milyong katao na nandito sa Europa, ay aprobahan namin yan. At mahirap nga lamang mga minamahal, nung panahong yun ay 11,000 lang ang nakuha nilang perma para sa mga bagay na yon. Kung kaya hindi nangyari. Pero mamaya sa ating mga darating na presentation, makikita po natin na ngayon ay pumayag na sila sa mga bagay na iyan. Ano po? Pumayag na sila sa mga bagay na iyan. Sabi dito ng isang pahayagan ng German, Sonntagsdienoren, Mommy and Papi. Sa English pa ay, Mommy and Daddy belongs to us. Kumbaga, ginawa nilang sanggalan yung mga bata na, on Sunday, Mommy and Daddy belongs to us. We are free, they should be free also. Ano po? Para may gagabay sa amin. At ngayon mga minamahal, kung papansinin nyo po, katulad na estratehiya, ang ginagamit nila ay mga kabataan. Yung mga kabataan, katulad nga ito ni, sino yung sikat ngayon na advocate ng climate change? Si Greta Thunberg. Ano po? Si Greta Thunberg. Ang sabi diyan ng Bible Commentary, Volume 7, The Law of God Made Void. Sabi diyan, a time is coming when the law of God is in special sense to be made void in our land. The rulers of our nation will by legislative enactment enforce the Sunday law, and thus saith God people to be brought into the great peril when our nation, its legislative council, shall enact laws to bind the conscience of men in regard to the religious privileges, enforcing Sunday observance, and bringing oppressive power to bear against those who keep the seventh-day Sabbath. The law of God will, to all intent and purposes, be made void in our land, and national apostasy will be followed by national ruin. Yan mga minamahal ang sabi doon. At ang sabi po, hindi lamang MEPS, kundi pati ito. Sabi dyan, ng nag-Guardian, Blair courts, controversial US pastors requiring in bid to unite faith. Ano po? So, ginamit na nila yung mga tawag dyan, mga religious icon, ano? Para maisulong ito. Kung kaya nga, noong 2009, si Pope Benedict calls for a new world order, mga minamahal. Ayan. Mga, ano lamang yan, mga vehicle nila. Ano po? Para isulong ang mga bagay na ito. Sabi kanina, when the leaders will enact law. So, para sila maka-enact, ay kailangan muna rin mag-gather yung consensus ng mga nasa posisyon. Kung kaya, sabi kanina, si Blair, ginamit si Rick Warren, itong si Pope, at ito pa, sabi dyan, Obama to seek new international order. Ano? Talagang ginagawa nila ng paraan mga minamahal upang maisulong ang mga bagay na ito. Sabi ng Fox News, May 24, 2010, President Obama is facing criticism for his declaration over the weekend that he would seek a new international order, with some questioning how much U.S. sovereignty and administration is willing to cede in exchange for more global cooperation. Sapagkat itong si Obama ay, ibig sabihin, nakisang-ayon siya ano po doon sa panawagan ng karamihan, lalo na itong si Pope. Ano po? Sabi dyan, President Obama addresses the graduates of the U.S. Military Academy in West Point, New York, May 22. Delivering the commencement speech Saturday at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, said the stronger international standard and institution and stronger alliance can resolve challenges ranging from terrorism, nuclear proliferation, to climate change, to economic decline, mga minamahal. So, sabi niya, hindi natin ito ma-solve sa, kumbaga, tayo-tayo lang. So, kailangan natin ng stronger alliance. Ano po? Stronger alliance. Kaya nga, dinagdagan niya pa na kailangan nating gawin ito. At marami sa mga presidente ng Amerika katulad ni George Bush, po, Yan, nakikita niyo po, yan ay ito, Templar, ito ay isang grupo, pero pare-parehas lang yung mga minamahal, ano po, na sinasaluduhan nila. Ibig sabihin, yan ang alliance na sinasabi nila. Ano po. Kung kaya nga, sabi dyan ng pahayagang yan, there have been a lot of changes in the past 100 years. Not only have we seen going activity increase along with crimes, but so as energy consumption. The other change I realized was an rescinding of the Sunday laws across the United States. So nakita po natin mga minamahal, maraming pagbabago sa United States at kasama doon ang pagsulong ng Sunday law sa isang protestanteng bansa. Malino mga minamahal, malino po. Ang sabi po ng 570 News, sabi dyan, Pope calls for solidarity in world's finance, says ethics must guide all action. Vatican City Pope Benedict has called for ethics and solidarity. At alam niyo po mga minamahal na ngayon, yung latest na encyclical ni Pope Francis ay solidarity din. Yung Fratelli Tutti, fraternity, solidarity mga minamahal. Isa lang yung mensahe ang dala-dala nila. Magkaisa para isulong itong Sunday observance. Ano po? Yan ay nakalagay dyan. Pope Benedict calls for globalism. At yan din ang mensahe ng Pope ngayon. Ano po? Nakita niyo the climate crisis is global. Kaya sabi niya noong 2009, 2010, Pontiff wants families to start preparing 2012 event. No? Sabi ng Zenit. Ano po? Pinapakita sa atin ng mga minamahal, mga katunayan ito. Ano po? Na itong mga bagay na ito ay talagang nagpapatunay that the Roman soldier are returned. Ano po? Sabi diyan, thus the Pope continued, it is necessary to promote reflection and effort at reconciling the demands and the period of work with those of the family and to recover the true meaning of the feast, especially on Sunday, the weekly Easter, the day of the Lord, and the day of men, the day of the family, of the community, in some solidarity. Ano? So dito mga minamahal, makikita natin po na talagang they are doing their best sa maraming kaparaanan kung ano-ano na lamang ang kanilang sinasanggalan para lamang madala nila itong Sunday observance. Ang sabi dyan, it is my wish, therefore, that already in the course of 2011, the 30th anniversary of the Apostolic Exhortation, Familiaris Consortio, the great charter of family pastoral care, might be taken as a valid guide with initiative at the parish diocesan. Mga minamahal, kung napansin niyo po ba yung programa ni Pope Francis na Let's Dream, di po ba? Ano doon ang background niya? Di po ba family din? Parehas nito. Ginawa nilang sanggalang itong family, itong mga kabataan, itong cry of the earth, itong cry of the youth para sila magkaroon ng good future, para lamang maipurso nila itong mga minamahal, mga bagay na ito. Ano po? Kung kaya, alam niyo mga minamahal, itong mga bagay na ito ay, sabi kanina, dadalhin sa batas. Subalit, may mga vehicle sila na gagamitin para madala nila ito. At tingnan natin mga minamahal sa pagkataong muling ito, ang sabi ng patotoo kung paano nila gagawin ang mga bagay na ito. Ito po, ang sabi ng next part, the popular demand. Ano po ba ang popular demand? Ang sabi dyan, ng Great Controversy 578, in order to secure public favor, will yield to the popular demand for a law enforcing Sunday observance. Ano po? So, para maidala itong Sunday observance, itong mga mambabatas ay hahanapin nila since yung mga tao naman ay luluklok sa kanila, ay hahanap sila ng pabor doon sa tao. So, they will yield to popular demand. Ano po ba ang popular demand? Pag sabing popular demand, from the word populus, yung demand ng karamihan. So yun po ang mangyayari para maisulong lamang itong bagay na ito. Ang sabi po dito, in these things, he delights, and thus he gathers in his harvest. And so completely will men be deceived by him, referring to Satan, that they will declare that these calamities are the result of the desecration of the first day of the week. From the pulpits of the popular churches will be heard the statement that the world is being punished because Sunday is not honored as it should be. So ito yung magiging dahilan ng popular demand. Maraming kalamidad, nangyayari ang pandemya sapagkat dinalabag natin ang first day of the week, which is Sunday. So ang sabi nila, kapag ating inobserve ang first day of the week, itong lahat ng ito ay mawawala. Kung kaya, sabi ng iba, nakita nyo po ngayon, papakita natin yan, na kung ano itong popular demand. Kung kaya nga ang sabi ng isang pahayagan, American Pastors Network claims COVID-19 is judgment for disobeying God on Israel moral law. Pero mga minamahal, ang mahirap dito, ang sabi dito ay itong pandemya ay paglabag natin sa kautusan. Ika-4 specifically, pero yung Sabbath nila is not the seventh day, but the first day, mga minamahal. So ito po ay nagpapahayag sa atin ng mga bagay na ito. Kung kaya nga ang sabi ng Great Controversy, page 590, it will be declared that men are offending God by the violation of Sunday Sabbath, that this sin has brought calamities which will not cease until Sunday observance shall be strictly enforced, and that those who present the claims of the fourth commandment, thus destroying reverence for Sunday, are troublers of the people, preventing the restoration to divine favor and temporal prosperity. Ano daw po? So ang sabi doon mga minamahal, itong mga kalamidad nito ay magpapatuloy dahil nilalabag natin ang unang araw ng Sanlinggo. At ito lamang ay mawawala kapag inilagay na natin ito sa right place nila para sambahin natin o i-observe natin ito. At itong mga lalabag dito, itong mga kontra dito, ay sila ang kontrabida. At sila ang mga tao na nagpi-prevent sa atin, ang sabi nila, para tayo maibsan sa mga bagay na ito, mga minamahal. Ano po? Kung kaya nga, dito, titingnan nila yung popular demand. Subalit ang problema ngayon, mga kaibigan, mga kapatid, gumagamit sila ng ibang kaparaanan at ibang dahilan para isulong itong Sunday law at ginagamit nilang sanggalan ngayon itong tinatawag na climate change. Ano po? Katulad po nito. Ito ang popular demand. Ano? Student urge on climate change with protest die-in. Yan. Ito mga kapatid. Fox News. Yan. France 24. In France, organizers said some 40,000 people attended the main event in central Paris. Yan. Cape Town, South Africa. London. Ano po? Makikita natin mga minamahal. India. Ano po? Pari-pariya sila. Ano? Yan. Lahat yan mga minamahal ay yan ang tinatawag na popular demand. Yung demand ng mga tao na kumilos ang mga mambabatas para tugunan ang climate change. Subalit ang kanilang tugon ay walang iba, isulong ang Sunday observance. Nakita niyo po mga minamahal? Ito ay nagpapatunay na pabalik na itong Roman soldiers para i-enforce ng lubusan itong Sunday observance para ano mo mga minamahal? Para sumunod ang kasabi kanina, distraction. Sana po nakikita natin ito. Ano? Katulad itong video ito.
That once picked cotton, join hands of Latinos, join hands of progressive whites, join faith hands and labor hands and Asian hands and Native American hands and poor hands and wealthy hands with a conscience and gay hands and straight hands and trans hands and Christian hands and Jewish hands and Muslim hands and Hindu hands and Buddhist hands. When we all get together, we are an instrument of redemption. When we join hands, we can revive and make sure that the promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and equal protection under the law is never taken away from anybody. So I got a question. Are the rejected ready to revive and declare that this land is your land, this land is my land, this land is our land, and together from the State House to the White House, the rejected are going to demand that this nation never give up on being one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nakita niyo po? The world is uniting. The popular are demanding for a legislation for Sunday law. Nakita niyo po? Ito yung popular demand, mga minamahal. Next video.
It's about climate change, saving the planet.
What if we just start with a song?
Yeah, what if we just start with a song? Sing for the climate. We need to wake up.
Yes, we need to
Rise
wake up, my friend.
Open our eyes and do it now. We need to build a better future. And we need to do it now. This is across Europe.
I know.
Thousands, maybe millions of people are joining us.
About 20 millions of them were gathered recently.
Yes.
1.2 billion.
We're on the planet that has a problem. We have to solve it. We got to do it now. We need to build a better future. And we need to do it, start right now. We need to build a better future. What? We need to start right now. This is talking about climate change. And they're using music to do it. But what about the other things? Let me show you one that's...
Nakita niyo po? Sabi niya, we need to wake up. We need to wise up. We need to build a better future. When? It is now. Millions around the world are uniting, demanding for just one thing, for the legislation to enact Sunday observance by law. Nakita niyo po yung mga kaibigan, mga kapatid? At ang sabi nila, ngayon na. Mga minamahal, sana po'y makita natin ang realidad ng buhay. Ano po? Na wala na tayong mahabang panahon. Marahil tayo mga nandito, hindi natin nakikita ang mga bagay na ito. Hindi natin nakikita sa telebisyon, sa mga programa, subalit sila po ay kumikilos. Kasama nitong Lord's Day Alliance mula ng 1888 upang isulong ang National Sunday Law, mga minamahal. The return of the Roman soldier that includes the destruction of Jerusalem, mga minamahal. Mga kaibigan, mga minamahal, mga kapatid. Ito po isang patunay na wala na tayong dapat sayangin na pagkakataon. Ano po? Panoorin po natin ito.
Greetings from New York. As you say, there are hundreds of protests going on all around the world today as young people, school children from Australia to Iceland come together to protest about what they're calling the crisis of their lifetime. Climate change, of course, and what they see is politicians' inability or unwillingness to do anything about it.
On a hot September day, a warming planet dominates the agenda.
We are the generation that will save this planet.
One generation, the youngest, now leading others before it, demanding urgent action to curb carbon emissions, the so-called die-in stage to warn of what might happen otherwise.
There are thousands here today, but hundreds of thousands, even millions, adding their voices elsewhere. And the scale of this global protest, especially the number of young people involved, gives you a clear indication of their growing sense of urgency when it comes to the issue of climate change.
Some of the day's first global climate strike protests happened in Australia, where an estimated 300,000 gathered at more than 100 rallies. From Melbourne,
it seems that the only people standing on the wrong side of history on this issue is our government.
To Sydney.
This isn't a fringe movement, this isn't a greenie issue, this isn't a lefty issue, this is a human issue.
World leaders were vilified over their climate change credentials.
Climate action! Now!
In New Delhi and India, as elsewhere, from India to Indonesia, the scale and reach of this protest surely unprecedented. This was the scene in Nairobi in Kenya.
Climate change is real and it's coming for us, and it doesn't matter who you are. Whether you are rich or poor, this thing is real.
They protested in Manila, in Bangkok.
We're skipping school because teachers teach us how to work in the future. But if we don't do this, there'll be no future for us to work in.
And Hong Kong. Even in Kabul, in Afghanistan, they marched under the shadow of the gun. Their message, if war doesn't kill them, climate change will.
We are not sinking. We are fighting.
For those on the front line of rising sea levels in the Pacific Islands came some of the day's most poignant images. And in Germany and Berlin came the most shocking, the melting blocks of ice beneath the gallows, a striking symbol of protest. Europe's capital cities saw some of the biggest crowds take to the streets, echoing to calls for governments to address climate change with far greater urgency. Back in the UK, office workers joined students in the protest. 100,000 gathered in London, claimed organisers. One cabinet minister said he couldn't endorse children leaving school for this, but said their voices were being heard. The Labour leader called them an inspiration.
And to those who say that school students and college students should be in college today, I say thank you for being here, for teaching me and everybody else a lesson about the environment.
From Brighton to Belfast, Cambridge to Cardiff, the UK Student Climate Network claimed more than 200 events had been organised today to raise the alarm for the climate, they said.
Leadership on the streets of London today than I have ever seen in the Palace of Westminster. Don't ever let anyone tell you that you are not making a difference. You are making history.
From a sit-in in France to thousands marching in Rome, to our very own demonstrations in Cape Town and Pretoria. Children have come together to try and save the planet themselves.
16-year-old Greta Thunberg, who inspired her peers across the world with her protest in Sweden, was this week nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize.
We need change! We need change!
These young activists say climate change will have a huge impact on their lives if nothing is done.
I really want climate change to be something that politicians are discussing leading up to the elections, and I feel like we haven't really seen people talking about it a lot.
If we don't do this and take a stand now, there won't be a future. We want the political system to just take action, because like right now we don't really see, they're not really prioritizing this.
In my poster, I have said, what world will my grandchildren be living in? As in, if we don't do anything soon, then my grandchildren might be having terrible lives with not the luxury that we have and all the nature and animals. I think that here in South Africa, we all need to start banning single-use plastics.
Now, the hope of South Africa's so-called climate kids is to get government to act and reduce waste, pollution, and the dependency on
Ang sabi ng Apocalypse, they will have one mind. Mga minamahal, yun ay nagpapatunay lamang that the world is having one mind. They are uniting. The populace, the people are demanding for a legislation at ginagamit lang nilang sanggaran ng climate change. At ang kanilang solusyon, mga minamahal, is to enforce Sunday observance. Mga minamahal, ito ay nagpapatunay ng isang katotohanan ng mga bagay na ito ay nagsasabi na tayo ay nasa huling kapanahon. Tayo ay naghihintay na lamang ng pag-atake, subalit ilan sa atin ang naghahanda sa panahon ito. Dalangin ko mga minamahal, katulad ng hangarin ng Panginoon, na katulad ng mga Hudyo, na mangyari sana sa atin, that no one, not one, Christian perish because they take heed of the warning. These are all the warnings that the Roman soldiers are returning, mga minamahal. Sa huli po nating episode, ay pag-aaral natin at ipapakita natin ang mga bagay-bagay na magpapatunay pa ng mga bagay na ito at magsasabi sa atin kung gaano tayo kalapit na at maririnig natin ang mga yapak ng mga sundalo, mga yapak ng mga kabayo, mga yapak ng karawahe. At dapat ngayon, at ngayon ang panahon, upang isecure natin ang ating mga pamilya, ang ating mga sarili. Siguraduhin na tayo ay nasa pananampalataya. Siguraduhin na tayo ay nasa ilalim ng kapangyarihan at biyaya ng ating Panginoon. At tayo ay may relasyon sa Kanya mismo. Pagpalain tayo sa oras na.